Paris Grand Kotei. I am here restreaming on behalf of Ketal, who is doing an all-French cast of the games today. I will be doing English commentary for as long as I have the patience. Hopefully that will be the entire day. There will be some co-casters coming on later on helping me out. And first today we have on the right Samuel with Scorpion versus Anfalas with I'm guessing that's Unicorn. Wow, this is going to be an interesting game. Unicorn does have a couple of builds that can stand up to Scorpion, but most of them are quite slow and quite grindy, and relies on, dishonoring the Scorpion down to nothing. Probably with Scorpion Splash himself. When we do see what appears to be a Unicorn Courtier build on the left side, with the Unicorn player having flipped the Mediator, the Satoshi, and the Giver of Gifts. And on the right side, we actually see the Scorpion player buying a Blackmail Artist with Zero Fate. I'm guessing he's going... Oh! The Scorpion player buys a second character. This is really unusual. Oh, I think the Scorpion player made a huge mistake there, peeking on his card as he put it down. I'm not sure. I wouldn't... That's a bit of a difficulty. It looks like he was actually peeking on the card he was putting down, but I don't know if I would do anything about that. And we see the Unicorn player passing here first, I think. No? No, he actually decides to buy the Giver of Gifts with one fate. I don't think passing here first is a bad idea for the Unicorn player, because the Scorpion player might have a conflict character or something in hand, but he didn't have a very threatening board. He has one guy that can't attack and one guy that has very, very poor stats. I might have just passed myself for the extra fate so I can bring out the big guns next time. If this is a sort of like standard Scorpion as we've come to know after the Irish Kotei, then this Scorpion won't be running any sort of buffs whatsoever. No attachments, and very few, maybe Banzai, but very few buffs in general. So what you see with Scorpion is usually what you get. Even if they might have conflict characters they can put in and threaten breaks, then they actually have to pay for the conflict character. And even if he has a even if it would have a one of the covert guys, the unassuming Yojimbo, Unicorn Stronghold pretty much negates the covert entirely, because you can just Stronghold and move in the guy that got converted anyway. Alright, so let's see. We have a Spyglass coming down on the Giver of Gifts for the Unicorn player. I'm not entirely sure I would have done it this way. I might have just put it on the Border Rider. I mean, that makes it a very, very big assassination target, but if you have the chance to pass the first conflict and defend with the Border Rider, you move him in, grab the card of the Spyglass, and then you use the Giver of Gifts ability to move the Spyglass onto the Giver of Gifts before any sort of assassination attempt comes down, and that will get you double trigger of the Spyglass this round without much effort. I think that would have been a better way of doing it, possibly. Alright, and we see some thinking here from the Scorpion player. I don't think he has any attachment control right now. Otherwise, I imagine we would have said an instant let go on that Spyglass, or indeed a calling in favors on that Spyglass, just to deny the Unicorn player a bunch of cards. And we see him pondering which ring to choose, and it appears to be a Void Ring. Well, this is a bit dicey, because it actually gives the Unicorn player a lot of incentive to defend this, because Unicorn is a Keeper of Void, so he will actually gain a fate if he successfully defends this. And it appears we have the Blackmail Artist going in on what appears to be a Manicured Gardens. It could be a Fertile Fields. We'll see if the Unicorn player grabs a Fate or a card here, and we'll know for sure. Let's see what happens. Will the Unicorn player defend this conflict? They seem to be discussing what's going on. Yeah, and that is a Manicured Gardens instead of a Fertile Fields. We see the Fate gained, and it looks like the Unicorn player is not defending this conflict at all. That will mean he will actually lose 2 honor, 1 from unopposed and 1 from the Blackmail Artist stealing 1 honor. Let's see if the Scorpion play. Yes, this is not a standard as we or if there could indeed be called any standard Scorpion, but this is not the throw top style of Scorpion. And he throws down a fan on the Blackmail Artist to threaten the break, and we see a captive audience from the Unicorn player, losing an honor but switching it to military. That means the Scorpion player now has 1 strength instead of 4 strength, and he's essentially wasted that attachment because that guy is going away at the end of the round anyway. And we can take a quick peek at the Scorpion player's hand. It appears he has a lot of debuffing the enemy, but not anything that will help him break here. I didn't see a bounce. I did see an Adept of Shadows, but that's not enough. Alright. And now we have the Border Rider move in to defend as a very smart move. I think we're going to see an Assassinate here from the Scorpion player. He's holding it and thinking about it very hard. I think that's the right move for the Scorpion player in this situation. Oh, we see a For Shame go down instead. That means the Border Rider has to choose either to get dishonored or bowed. Now, if I'm the Unicorn player here, I'll probably just bow. Maybe even... I wouldn't... See, this is difficult. I wouldn't defend this necessarily as hard as the Unicorn player is. But since I now know this is sort of like a more tempo Scorpion, I also might consider it because it appears he's going to be buying a lot of characters and stuff as well. And we see a Way of the Scorpion getting dropped. Way of the Scorpion getting dropped, dishonoring the Border Rider. And I'm just looking at the chat for a second. Hello, Grody. Can you tell me if it's if the stream is working fine? How's the image quality and stuff like that? It's a restream of a stream, so I imagine it's going to be quite artifacted, but it's the best I can do at this point. Right, and we do see the Scorpion player winning the Void conflict here with 1 military strength to 1 military strength. Ties goes in favor of the attacker, and he'll use the Void Ring on the Giver of Gifts. So now the Giver of Gifts with the Spyglass is going away at the end of this turn, which is maybe not what you want as the Unicorn player here. Let's see what the Unicorn player tries to do. Alright, he will do a Political Water on the... let's see, what is it? On Shameful Display. And I do believe the Scorpion player here really wants to drop a guy in to defend this, because it's just such a strong ability. In fact, he can absolutely put down the Giver of Gifts to 0 political strength, he will use, if he used the Sinister Soshi to reduce his strength by -2/-2, and then the Shameful Display goes off, the Giver of Gifts will have 0 political strength. I say that's worth dropping in a Adept of Shadows with 0 fate, just to soak that up. The honor on the Adept of Shadows even means that you won't lose the honor when he goes back into hand. Alright. We see a court games going down, and the opponent has to choose dishonoring. I mean, this is a fine play as well, but I'd honestly prefer dropping the conflict character at this point, since I mean, it's a conflict character, and it goes back to hand. It's a net card advantage at this point, and you get to trigger Shameful. I don't know. It is what it is. Oh, all right. This changes things dramatically. That's a Steward of the Law for the Unicorn player. He's currently breaking, exactly breaking. And the Scorpion player swiftly assassinates. I think that's the right move. A one-fated Steward of the Law is a very juicy target for an assassination. That's a very decent assassination. Yeah, I like that. So, we're back to the Unicorn player not breaking. And he puts down a fan. He is currently breaking. He has invested a lot in this conflict. I am not sure I agree with this. I just use the Sinister Soshi now as a Scorpion player to negate that attack completely and force the Unicorn player to play more cards. We'll see what happens. And it does appear the Sinister Soshi gets used to bring down the Unicorn player down below breaking again. He's essentially forcing the Unicorn player here to spend more cards if he wants to break. Will he invest more into this conflict? I think that would actually be a mistake. It appeared that he does not want to. Yeah, he gives up and goes home. And he readies the Border Rider. Interesting. Now, what will the Scorpion player do here? Now he'll drop the Adept of Shadows. I think attacking here with Adept of Shadows is probably a mistake. Might be better to just use it for defense. It's hard to tell. And I think the player here is not entirely sure what every ring does. I think he's asking the opponent what every ring does, and that to me shows a bit of a less experienced player. But it's always nice to have players come down to big events, experienced or not, so we'll just see how this works out for him. Alright, he scouts a new province. And that is a pilgrimage. So he has to break to get the ring effect here. And I think the Unicorn player simply just does not defend this at all. I think that's what I would do in this situation. I mean, it's a bit of a hard sell, but like the Scorpion player would probably have used That's also an interesting thing. I think that we see because the both the players are big. The Scorpion players actually declared two military conflicts this round. It's a small mistake because it didn't really matter that much. Uh, Considering he ran into Pilgrimage and the guy is at 2-2 and no defenders. But yeah, it's potentially a big problem. Potentially a big problem if we can catch any more of that later on. It might be worth just being careful with how the two conflicts per round works. It's one political and one military conflict you may declare each round. And here we see the Unicorn player just waiting and thinking about how he wants to set up his turn. He's thinking of if he wants to go air. He honestly already feels the dishonor pressure going on here. And he walks into Shameful Display here, which has not triggered this round. So he walks in with one military strength. But the Unicorn player has drawn a decent amount of cards from that Spyglass now. 2 cards, so it's paid for itself. In my opinion. And he sacrificed the storehouse. The Scorpion player sacrificed the storehouse to gain another card. And here we see a Banzai with a kicker. So we go up to 5 strength. And I do believe that's actually enough to break the Shameful Display here. Because I don't think the Scorpion player has enough debuffs. Oh, we see a fate worse than death. That's an expensive way to save the Shameful Display, but it works. It works out. Wow. That's a turnaround the Unicorn player did not want to see, I think. Breaking Shameful against Scorpion is huge. Really, really huge. Oh, and we seem to be losing a bit of focus with the camera. Maybe someone bumped into the table or something. We'll see. And we see the Scorpion grabbing the Imperial Favor. And we'll see what he'll do with it. So the Scorpion player chooses to put Imperial Favor on the military side. And here we see, I think, someone trying to fix the focus of the game. And it appears he's not quite successful yet. The Unicorn player is down to 4 honor here. That's pretty low after the first round, if I'm completely honest. It appears the autofocus of the camera is not quite working. While we wait for the camera to get working, I'm just gonna quickly grab myself a glass of water because I've been speaking quite a bit here, and we'll see what the players flip for the next round any second now. Alright, it seems like the camera issues are finally being resolved here. So, we have the Unicorn player first action playing Satoshi with one fate. And the Scorpion player playing a uh, Bayushi Liar with zero fate. And the Satoshi activates and finds Superior Palace and puts it on Pilgrimage. That's going to be a very tough nut to crack. I don't think the Scorpion player here knows quite what he wants to do. That's a big, big province to have it put on. Oh, he does play an actress for 3 fate, and he actually puts a whoa. Now that's unusual. Actress is usually played with 0 fate because of her ability to sacrifice herself and bringing in another character. Wow, that's a very interesting play from the Scorpion player. And I think we see a 1 bid to a 5 bid. That means the Unicorn player now pretty much out of the Dishonor hole. But it also means the Scorpion player has a massive card advantage by this point. It will be very interesting to see how this turn goes for both the players. Satoshi is a big political body, but yeah, it's very interesting. But this actually does indicate to me that this Scorpion player is quite new to the game. I mean, he might have some master plan that I'm not fathoming here. It's entirely possible, but usually actress is played with 0 fate just because of her ability to be a second character instantly. And here we see an air conflict on military on Pilgrimage. It's going to be interesting to see if the Scorpion player defends this at all. I'd probably do it with the actress, to be honest. 2 military strength to 1 and then +1 from the Imperial favor. I think the Unicorn player here is trying to explain how Imperial Palace work. I think that he wonders if Imperial Palace gives +3 glory to each character in play. That will make Imperial Palace absolutely horrible against Scorpion. I'm actually glad it doesn't do that. And it appears the Scorpion player is having trouble deciding if he wants to defend this or not. And it appears he's not defending, and we instantly see a charge from the Unicorn player. I'm a bit surprised that the Scorpion player has not found a Forged Edict yet. A Forged Edict would be a very good card in this exact situation. Just dishonor the Bayushi Liar to stop the Altansarne from entering play. I think we actually see a Century in the Scorpion player's hand, which means I think the Scorpion player doesn't quite know how cancels work in this game, which is a bit of a shame. I'm about 80% certain I spotted a Century in that Scorpion player's hand, and he does have the Imperial favor here. I would very much have cancelled that charge if I could have. Wow, that's rough for the Scorpion player. It just goes through without any contest. I'm hard pressed to imagine the Scorpion player could not defend that at all. I'm also very hard pressed to think the Scorpion player has not found a single event cancel. What? 15 cards deep in his deck? That's unlucky. And we see a Goblin Sneak getting played. And the Goblin Sneak is whenever it enters play, the opponent has to put a fate on it. It's an interesting card. It's potentially very, very good, but it's a bit odd. Yeah, I feel for the Scorpion player here, not having the necessary stuff to block that attack. That usually never happens. Usually have a Fury or a event cancel or several event cancels. It is what it is. Oh, we see Scorpion player being on Lion Splash. Should we see a Legion of One? Now I'm actually surprised he's not on the pilgrimage instead, because that would be enough to break the pilgrimage. And the response is a cav reserves. Does he have enough cavalry guys in his discard to bring in? Yes, he does. That's a very expensive cav reserves for only three. It's basically buying the guys again. It's 3 cost for the cav reserves, and then he brings in a total cost of 3 fate characters. It does save the break, which is really, really good. He now has 4 strength towards the 7 strength of the Scorpion player. We'll see what happens now. I think I've spotted a Banzai in Unicorn player's hand, so I don't think the Scorpion player can really do anything here to guarantee the break. Which means the Scorpion player here is actually very much on the back foot. We'll see what happens. Scorpion player could Banzai here. Alright, so he's not going to Banzai. He is going to grab the fire ring. I would dishonor the Mia Satoshi, because that one is going to stick around for a while. Apparently the Scorpion player must be much lower on honor than I thought, because he honors his own Goblin Sneak. I honestly think that the Scorpion player might be down to 1 honor here, guys. It looks like it's covered by the names, the little name overlay, but it appears that the Scorpion player is down to 1 honor and 1 fate. That means the Scorpion player is very much in risk of getting dishonored out very soon. Of course, if he survives this round, he'll start to climb up quite a decent bit, because he's just gonna be gaining back honor each turn. And we'll see what we spot here. Another Legion of 1. Is that a conflict character I see? I can't tell. A ready for battle, a katana. This is actually a very aggressive Scorpion deck, it appears. I think an aggressive Scorpion deck needs to build the board. Either it needs to build a board with conflict characters, or it needs to build a board with just normal characters in order to press on their aggressiveness. Not having done that the first round means the Scorpion player is actually very much behind, because he lacks the control options to stop the incoming tide. Let's see what he picks here. It's gonna be... Actually, we won't actually know. Wait. Did I miscalculate that conflict? So, he was defending with 4. He was going in with 1, plus 1 from the Imperial Favor, plus 6, 8. 4 to 8. Yes, it actually is broken. Alright, that's slightly better for the Scorpion player at this point, and slightly worse for the Unicorn player. And there's a bit of reading of the cards going on here. But we couldn't possibly be sure what he took here, but I imagine it was probably like I mean, it's hard to tell. It could have been anything. It's hard to know without the rest of his hand, but he obviously picked whatever he thought was going to be best for his plan this round. Alright, will he defend? Yes, he will defend with the actress. So it's 1 political against 3 political. Does the Unicorn player have enough buffs to do anything against this province? And we see a court games go down. Now it's 0 political against 3 political. And we see a captive audience. So it's now a military conflict. That means we now see 1 military against 1 military. Actually, 1 military against 2 military. So the Scorpion player is currently winning. I think the Unicorn player is going to be hard pressed to break here. I think he spotted Banzai in his hand, so he's obviously trying to win this conflict. But I don't think he can break, and I don't think the Scorpion should care if he wins but not breaks. Does he use the kicker? Does he use the kicker? He does not use the kicker, so he just wants to win this battle. Wow, and that's a massive overreaction coming back. So he has used one bounce side to go up to 3 strength, and the Scorpion player spends Legion of 1 with the fate from the character to go up to insane 7 against 4. I think he now just realized that he has to kill his actress to summon in something from the opponent's side, which is perhaps not the greatest for him at this point. We'll see what happens here. He does have yeah, I guess it's cleanup time. So he passes his remaining conflict. And the Imperial favor goes over to the Unicorn player, and he puts it on military. That seems to me like he wants to be super aggressive. So the Unicorn player is down to exactly 7 fate, and the Scorpion player should be having 8 fate, and it does appear that the Scorpion player only has 2 honor at this point. Alright, let's see what gets bought. We have 1 break to 1 break. The Unicorn player is currently in honor lead. I don't know how long it's left of this round. It appears to be about 25 minutes. So currently the tiebreakers are favoring the Unicorn. Right. Let's see how the Scorpion player decides to play this. Depending what I have in hand and knowing that this is an aggressive Scorpion player, I'd probably buy a second Treasury Actress with 0 fate on. I'd probably like buy almost my entire row, actually. So 3. Alright, so he buys the Yogo Outcast, which is a 3/3, which is not bad at this point. Not bad at all. And the Scorpion player passes after that. That is actually a bit surprising to me. I would probably have bought a little bit more this turn. And we see an ID Trader and Moto Youth from the Unicorn player. So ID Trader, you basically want to slap a favored mount on, and then he's just a massive economy engine. I think, yeah, I think we spot actually an admit defeat in Unicorn players, and that can actually be huge here when it comes to breaks. That's very interesting. I'm guessing this turn is we're going to see quite a bit of breaks. Interesting, interesting, interesting. They're both pondering their bids. We have a 1-to-1 bid. It makes sense since the Scorpion is down to 2 honor, but I don't think the Unicorn player can count on ever dishonoring him out. With the Stronghold still active. And now the Scorpion player is counting his fate. I'm guessing he has some stuff he wants to do this round. Ah! He drops down a Goblin Sneak. No more money for the Unicorn player. So decent play. Having 1 money or having 0 money is a huge difference in this game. Or 1 fate or 0 fate if we're gonna be very thorough. This turns out to be a very intriguing match. I honestly would put the Unicorn player slightly ahead at this point. Not by an extreme amount, but by enough to make a difference. It's also rough on the Scorpion player here that he appears to be very, very new. I mean, not very new, but like, at least not as certain of what all the things does as one might expect from someone who's played a lot of games. He's doing a very, very solid job this far though. Like, a really solid job. Alright, he goes political water into an unknown province. Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is. So the Scorpion player is up to 3 honor now with a stronghold, which is a much more comfortable honor situation than 1 honor. Alright. He actually does a big attack. I'm not entirely sure I like this, because this makes it quite easy for the Unicorn player to overwhelm him back on political. Ah! Endless Plains. I would sacrifice the Outcast. Outcast 100%. Outcast 100%. If he chooses to trigger it. If he chooses to trigger it. You have to break it to trigger it. So, we'll see here. And we do have a sight on the entire Unicorn player's hand here. He has a Cavalry Reserves, an Admit Defeat, a Banzai, and a For Shame. Right, so here I'd just sacrifice the Outcast. Sacrifice the Outcast. That's the only way to do it. Let's see. He's apparently thinking a lot about it. But just because the actress can sacrifice herself later on into another guy, I think it's yes. And he does pick the Outcast. Huh. Alright. I'll take this as a win for the Scorpion player. I'd just be okay. You've got me. I can't trigger the water ring, but I pretty much got out of the water ring what I wanted. Satoshi getting bowed. Because she's gonna bow at the end of this conflict, regardless. Right, also to everyone watching, I'm actually gonna do a little bit of sound check here from my OBS. Yes, it seems like everything is working. Sorry about that. It's hard sometimes when you don't have any chat telling you whether they hear you or not to know if everything is working right. I just had a quick look on OBS to see if everything was working. So, this is a bit of an interesting dilemma for the Unicorn player. I'd probably use the for shame here. If the Scorpion player wants to win this conflict, he's gonna have to dishonor the guy, and that actually brings him fairly close to being dishonored again. But, you know, if he just bows, he loses the conflict. But he does nothing, so he gets to bow a second character. He gets to bow the Moto Youth. Yeah. Alright, so we're gonna see the Unicorn player here doing a potentially a military conflict here. We'll see. It's very interesting. And we instantly see a Adept of Shadows dropped from the Scorpion player. Does this mean the Unicorn player has passed his conflict? No, it does not mean that. Alright, he goes into the last province, and that should be Meditations on the Tau. If this is a common... Yes, it is a Meditations. So it's a fairly common lineup of Scorpion here. I defend with like the Goblin Sneak or whatever. I actually probably defend with both the Goblin Sneak and Adept of Shadows, because I can just bring back the Adept of Shadows to hand and play it again to go for conflict. Interesting to see here what the Scorpion player will do. He needs to defend with at least one guy. Does he have a fate worse than death? Using Meditations first and then play a fate worse than death would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. Obviously this is a tough conflict for the Scorpion player. He's thinking a lot about what needs to be done. A lot of variables to count. He has no idea what's in the other hand. Yeah, he does trigger the Meditations. Oh, that's a sneaky way. I'd honestly probably here... If I have Fate Worse Than Death, I'll still play it on the ID Trader. 100%. It's an excellent target. Oh, we see Banzai with a kicker. He is now currently breaking. Will you sacrifice the actress here? And there the Fate Worse Than Death is! Now both players are down to ridiculous low amounts of honor. Oh! The Scorpion has opened up a dishonor victory here! He lets this one go and then goes an unopposed air! The Scorpion spots this as well! Oh my god! Will we see a Scorpion dishonor victory? Wow! The Scorpion just has to go into the last province, the unknown province, and win an airing, an unopposed airing, and it's over for the Unicorn player. Oh my God! This could be. This is so rough for the Unicorn player. Wow, that's so tough. Oh wow. Oh wow, please don't go into pilgrimage here. I mean, pilgrimage is enough as well, but I just go air into the unknown province. Just go into the unknown province and it's over. Oh wow. Air. Just go air. Oh. Oh, he's asking which one that steals honor. Is airing. Oh, he goes into the lost province with both of them. Oh, and he gives up. Oh, wow. That's such a big comeback from the Scorpion player. The Dishonor victory. Wow. Uh, that's actually insane. Oh, Saiskis. Glad to see you joining us, but unfortunately, Ponies got dishonored. I'm sad to tell you, ponies are down. Ponies are out for the count. If you don't mind listening to the French cast, switching over to Ketal stream is an excellent idea if you wanna uh, hear what they're saying. I am going to take a short break myself before the next game. I'll probably do as much as to stop the stream so that I have chunks of each game that can be uploaded individually. Hopefully that works. So I'm going to stop my stream for about 2-3 minutes and then turn it back on in time for the next round. And if you want to watch the French cast during this time, it's let's see, twitch.tv/Ketal. Yes, I am now going to stop this stream. I'll be back on again for the next game, and I'll hope to see everyone who's watching then. The stream will be turned on again in a couple of minutes. It's just so I have chunks that can be uploaded easily afterwards. Thank you very much for watching.